So, Ashley, you have a lot of background knowledge and experience in the area of IEP, and I'm seeing a common question that some are wondering, how do you go about starting the process for an IEP for your child? Can you tell us more about that?
Shannon, that is an excellent question. And it is certainly one that comes up all the time because, you have to ask questions in order to get the ball rolling. So, the one thing to get things started as far as receiving special education services in a public school setting under IDEA and free and public education, all that stuff, to be able to get an IEP, what you need to do is you need to be able to make a request to the admin of your school. So what I would suggest is reaching out to the school guidance counselor. If you are able to find out who the school psychologist is, also include them and the principal. Always CC the principal on things because in my experience, I've learned if you don't include them in it, things are going to get overlooked and I don't want to say neglected, but it does happen. So the first step that you would be able to take to get the assessment process or the entire process of an IEP is to be able to, I would do it in writing, not verbally, because if you write it, you have a paper trail. So write either a formal email or a formal letter to somebody in school administration, including, the ones that I mentioned, school psychologist, school counselor, principal, and make them aware of what you're observing in your child, what their current ability level is, and where you would like to see them progress. And then IEP laws can vary from state to state. So this is something you have to keep in mind as far as like the timeline for everything to get completed. I know that within 15 calendar days, pretty sure it's calendar days in the state of California, not school days, but calendar days, you have to either have a written notice saying if your child's going to get evaluated. If they say no, they have to give you a reason. And if they say yes, they're supposed to give you an assessment plan. And then from there, the timeline continues. So that's what would happen. You'd have to first write that write that request, and then you would have to receive some kind of notice from the special education team as to whether they are going to proceed with this assessment or if they don't recommend it and why. After you write that letter, or during the process of writing the letter to request special education supports for your child in school, also educate yourself on your state-specific rights and obligations regarding special education services. That way you can better advocate for your child as the process continues going.
And I would love to add to that part because there's a step beyond that step. Helping your children understand that there's nothing wrong with them. Helping them navigate. These are just to help you. And so help me to help you learn better. But it's nothing wrong with a child. And we have to stop thinking that they need to be fixed and we have to have resources to fix them. The resources are really important. Don't get me wrong. But what's more important is your relationship with your child and how you're building them up to understand. Kids really feed off of our energy. If they see that we're struggling with something, they can feel it. And they're so innocent and so sweet, but at the same time, just like us, we can be our worst critics. They take that to heart. And so we really have to be able to equip them to be able to navigate their strengths and not weaknesses, but where they can continue to grow, right? Because we don't want to feed in anything that the enemy can really plant on them, that they come in agreement with. We don't want that. We want them to come in agreement with who God says they are and who we can come alongside them to be. And so I really want to encourage all of you to really know your children and to have your relationship be at the forefront of all of it. Because even when you're able to get those resources, they will thrive so much better if they know that they are loved and that diagnosis isn't who they are. It's just a part of their journey. And it will also equip them to be able to help the next person or the students that they've come alongside. If we can start building up people rather than trying to put people in boxes, we can go so much further. And that's a huge part of this whole seminar, is equipping people to equip our children and ourselves to be the best version of ourselves, and to know that we are loved in the midst of it all, and that it's okay to fail and get up and try again, right? As parents, we're gonna mess up. But if we're showing them love and that we're trying and that we're doing it for them, not to them, we're going to be way more successful for them. And they'll be able to rise up and do the same thing for themselves. They're not going to be their diagnosis. They're going to be who you named them to be and who God called them to be.